Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, arguably the most disappointing moment of the season for the Lakers on Tuesday night. We'll explain next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. It's always free. It's never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers, Andy, all of whom are just sick to their stomachs after the Lakers lose 134-120 at the Crypt on Tuesday night. A critical game against the Golden State Warriors. And one that in a lot of ways was lost before the Lakers took the floor. Get to all of that in a moment. Want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. LeBron James and Anthony Davis have been remarkably healthy all season long, remarkably available all season long, and man alive, did fate pick the worst possible moment to throw a wrench in that, Andy. We all saw what happened on Sunday with LeBron missing the game with flu-like symptoms against Minnesota. Anthony Davis leaves the game in the first quarter after being whacked in the head and not getting a call, and his eyes swell shut or whatever again. Well, on Tuesday, Anthony Davis still unable to play. He's got nausea. He was out with nausea and headaches. The Lakers did say he's not in the concussion protocol, despite the fact that those sound like concussion symptoms. Could just be sick. And LeBron barely made it to the arena with his sickness. Considering the magnitude of this game, LeBron supposedly played at about 70% for this one. Oh my God, the timing, it was just awful for illness to take down the Lakers.
Yeah, I kept waiting for, I was doing halftime and postgame for 710 ESPN, the Lakers radio affiliate. So I went to Darvin's pregame availability just to hear what he had to say because it might affect what I did on the show that night. And Darvin clarified that Anthony Davis was not in concussion protocol, but I kept waiting for him to say yet, just because those symptoms sound extremely concussion-y. He did say afterwards that he thought AD might be dealing with the same thing LeBron has been dealing with. He also may just be giving as little information as possible because that is what the Lakers always do with anything even remotely medical.
Maybe they're just not letting the concussion doctor anywhere near AD. Like he can't be in the protocol if the doctor never sees him.
But like LeBron also too, I thought it took the game for him to really get going. Like he finished with a hell of a game. Like LeBron really tried to will the Lakers to a win, finished with 33 points on 14 of 22 shooting, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 4 turnovers, but a lot of them were early. Like it felt to me like LeBron took about a quarter and a half to really get either himself in a groove or just to reach like a place of zen where he could ignore feeling like bleep. But he really tried to carry the team. Austin Reeves got off to a bit of a slow start, but ended up rounding out to a pretty good game. Rui Hachimura had a brutal first half, but rounded into a decent overall showing. But they didn't get enough beyond those 4 guys.
And even then, I mean, I'll stop. I don't think, you needed more than 7 of 21 from Rui.
Absolutely. Well, he was 2 of 11 in the first half.
Well, I'm just saying,
brutal first half.
That counts. I'm just,
that's why I said it was a brutal first half.
Good for I just, and he rebounded the ball well. I'm not saying he wasn't out there trying, but on a night where AD was out, they needed something special from the other guys, and Reeves gave him, I think, enough. But Rui and D'Lo, not even close.
No. And then the bench, beyond Spencer Dinwiddie, 12 points, the guys who played actual minutes off the bench that mattered, combined for 2 points. Taurean Prince, another lousy game after a lousy showing against Minnesota. He had 2. Cam Reddish did not score. Max Christie did not play until garbage time. And Gabe Vincent did not score. So there were a lot, Jackson Hayes, I actually thought had a pretty good game in terms of, trying to provide at least a poor man's Anthony Davis. And, he's not AD. He's not going to be AD. But I thought he did a good job being active, trying to protect the lane. He challenged a decent amount of shots.
Played as reasonably well as Jackson. You can, reasonably expect Jackson Hayes to play. I mean,
but in a lot of ways too, this game was lost for the Lakers at the Golden State 3-point line. Mm-hmm. Golden State shot 63% from behind the arc. And it wasn't just the usual suspects, the Steph Currys, Steph 6 of 6 from behind the arc, 23 points on 9 shots, or Clay going 5 of 10 from behind the arc, even Wiggins going 3 of 5. Like, you had Draymond Green was 5 of 5 in the first half. His 5th 3 in the first half, he started backpedaling and laughing, but it wasn't even like a Draymond Green cockiest guy in the league thing. It was kind of like Draymond doing the Michael Jordan shrug. Like,
yeah, no, he knew exactly how ridiculous it was that he was 5 of 5 from 3-point range.
Or,
it was the first time, I think, if I saw the stat correctly, it was the first time since 2017 that Draymond had more than 3 3-pointers in a game. And Lakers did not play effective 3-point defense. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this, but that said, there is in every game here are the people we want to, we got to give it up somewhere, because if you overplay Draymond, you overplay other guys, you're going to make it too easy for Steph, Clay, so on.
It can't get any easier than 100% from behind the arc for Steph.
Well, but if you let Draymond stand on an empty practice court and take 5 3-pointers over the last couple seasons, he's going to miss 2 of them. So, I mean, it's just,
we've been through this. I don't like this strategy. I think it's a bad strategy.
That's fine. I'm just saying it is sort of normal NBA practice to decide who you're going to allow to take 3-pointers, and those kinds of things. Now, do you got to adjust, make changes, all that kind of stuff? Sure. But, Jonathan Kuminga is somebody you want to be taking 3-pointers as opposed to, say, Clay. So, okay, he takes his 3 and it's fine. But, there are other guys, when Draymond is on the list. Draymond is on the list of players that you want taking 3s if you have to give them up to someone.
Right. But there's a difference between, we've been through this a lot. We'll have time to break this down over the course of what I hope a longer off season than we anticipated even just a few weeks ago. But there is a difference between starting with that strategy, not selling out on, say, Gary Payton II, and literally just watching as he takes that 3 from 7 feet away. There is a middle ground to be found. And if you give guys who are capable of making 3-point shots enough opportunity to get into a rhythm, I think this sample size of this season shows it can be a really crappy strategy.
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to claim that the Lakers played good 3-point defense. All I'm saying is that the alternatives of overplaying and really selling out on guys who are getting hot means you're going to definitionally, the way the Warriors play, open up the floor more for Steph and Clay to shoot more 3-pointers. And that is not what you want to be doing. And just all I'm saying is they both didn't play particularly good 3-point defense and ran into a team that shot the ball extremely well. It was a bad combination of stuff. We'll get into more details of the game here in a second, but we should note that the fallout from this game, of course, is that the Lakers are very likely to be now the 10th seed. They are still technically 9th in the conference, but the Warriors have a game in hand, are tied in the loss column with the Lakers, and own the tiebreaker and have a significantly easier schedule down the stretch. So, if all plays out the way you would expect it to, the Lakers now are going to be the 10th seed and not the 9th seed, which is a very disappointing turn of events, given that only a few days ago we were talking about scenarios in which the Lakers, if things broke the right way, could even jump to 6th. So we'll get into that. We'll get into more things about this game and choices that were made where the Lakers may have lost this game. And looking forward into the next week, we'll get to all of it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. And when I was around 12 years old, the Police, my favorite band, they were on the Synchronicity tour. It was probably the hottest ticket in the world, and I could not get seats initially. I decided then, you know what? Who cares? I'll just catch the next Police tour. Well, guess what? The Police broke up after the Synchronicity tour, and I eventually saw Sting, and he was great, but it's not the same thing as the Police. And I learned from this incident, when it comes to a concert that you want to see, carpe diem, don't miss out. That's why I love Game Time. It's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy shows, and theater near you. And with killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee, you can stop getting stressed over the tickets, start getting hyped for the fun. They have flash deals where you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row or less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. They are the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. So snag the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Okie doke. So, I mean, it is just, I mean, this falling into 10th thing is obviously extremely disappointing for Lakers fans. And, you know, it's not guaranteed that's where they finish, but if you have to put money on a final resting spot, it's pretty likely.
A lot needs to work out for the Lakers.
Right.
Like a lot needs to work out.
Lot. This is obviously, you know, you lose on Sunday, critical game. You lose on Tuesday, critical game. People have noted the Lakers have lost, they lost to Phoenix. They've lost a lot of these sort of recently. They've won some important games, but they've also lost, these games against the teams they're chasing, and the season series against the Kings, and so on and so on. The fact that they're finishing 10th is not related to these last two games. It's related to the first 30. It's a matter of putting yourselves in a position where you leave yourself no margin for error to lose a game or two or three in the final couple weeks of the season, because you just, you went 5-12 after the IST. It's like that. This result isn't an indictment of how they've played over the last, whatever it is, 2.5 months. It's an indictment of how they played at the beginning, how they were coached, all of these things, some bad luck in terms of injuries. Because, your stars get sick against two really good teams, you can lose, but you have to be able to build enough cushion into your season to be able to absorb these types of things, because they're going to happen. And the Lakers can't afford that now. And that's why they're going to finish 10th.
Yeah,
likely.
It's credo you often hear from Laker fans, and I would even say a lot of local media that cover the Lakers for a long time, that the regular season doesn't matter. All that matters with the Lakers is the playoffs and championships. And then when you combine it with somebody like LeBron, who's had such an incredible career when it comes to taking teams to the finals, the idea that seeding doesn't matter. You just put LeBron in the playoffs and that's all that matters. The truth is the regular season does matter, particularly as LeBron gets older and these things start becoming more taxing and more of a difficult lift for him. And I know it's something that we'll end up talking about in terms of whenever the offseason eventually starts, just the idea of assuming LeBron, as I think everybody expects, whether he opts in or opts out to sign a new deal with the Lakers, he will remain part of this franchise moving forward. The best way to go about building, if not totally around LeBron, certainly with LeBron as one of the key members of this roster and one of the key influences on how the team plays, it becomes even more critical to find ways to rack those wins, because even LeBron, with everything he's accomplished and still accomplishes, you can't just drop him into the playoffs as an 8 seed and automatically expect great things to happen. And to be clear, I'm not saying that they are an 8 seed because of LeBron. You are correct. Those games that they crapped away between the IST and when they started turning things around, or even some of the early pre-IST games where, you know, there were only a few games above 500 and whatnot.
No, they got off to a bad start.
Right. Those games all matter now more than ever with LeBron on this team. And there are a variety of reasons that those losses ended up happening. And there's going to be a big examination of a lot of factors, including Darvin Ham. But it is very important for, I think, Laker fans to remember that contrary to the mythology and the ethos, the regular season does actually matter.
Well, look, I mean, I've seen a few people, not tons. I'm not talking about like the media is saying, but there were enough people that have been like, you know, the Lakers have turned things around using the same formula that they used last year. No, that is not what happened. Formula implies intent. Formula implies an approach that is something that is drawn up or conceived of in a positive way, where like this is like the plan. Last year's plan wasn't the plan. Last year they turned it around based on massive in-season trades and all these other things, and kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and had the benefit of a conference that cooperated in a huge way. Even that wasn't what they did this year. They didn't make any big trades. They didn't do anything. They did finally start playing a lineup that the rest, you know, in that sense, they made a trade. They traded out lineups that didn't work for lineups that did. But like, they weren't just kicking it until they decided to like throw it into gear after the All-Star break. Like, this was not by design. It was a scramble. So yes, I understand what people say when they say seeding doesn't matter and all that, but that's in the context of like, yeah, seeding doesn't matter if you're talking about the difference between third and fourth and fifth. The difference between fourth and 10th absolutely matters. I mean, when you're playing, and I'm not even talking about because it's a LeBron-led team and all these. That's true of any team in the NBA. Like, so,
right. But it used to be where you really could drop LeBron into the playoffs, and he became the meme, you know, with the do-rag cigarettes, where he's like,
I understand.
Whatever. I don't,
well, I'm not even sure that LeBron. I'm not even sure that LeBron. You could just be like, in this Western Conference, could be like, all right, well, here you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm not saying I'm not
that
saying
LeBron. I might take my chances. Actually, that LeBron
this
was
conference
pretty damn good.
Like, okay, that guy's going to go from 10th to 1st. You know, if anybody could do it, it'd be him. But it's kind of a misappropriation of the concept of the regular season doesn't matter, seeding doesn't matter, because like there are parameters for that. Like, and the Lakers, to make that true, again, it would have been the difference between 4th and 6th, 3rd and 5th, something like that, where, yeah, you know what, a LeBron-led team can go on the road and win. Yes, I'm confident in that. Even 39-year-old LeBron, but not 3rd and 10th. So I think it's really important to understand that like none of this had any kind of design behind it. The Lakers are not in this position because of some plan that was executed and just didn't quite come together in the end. They had to put on a mad scramble to try, and it looked for a second like they might get away with it again. Like last year, you know, circumstances were different, obviously, but like, man, that was kind of remarkable. And they kind of got away with, you know, a poorly conceived team that, you know, caught lightning in a bottle. All this is stuff that just rarely happens in the NBA. They got away with it. They almost got away with it again. And the basketball gods essentially said, No. LeBron, illness, Anthony Davis whack in the head, and then illness, and you guys are going to learn your lesson here, and we'll see if they do. Look, maybe they get out of the 10 seed, they beat Golden State, they beat probably Sacramento or something like that, and they move on through the first couple rounds of the playoffs. It would be remarkable, but you can't put money on that because Lakers have been a god-awful road team all year, just to boot.
Yeah, it's just, this is, as the saying goes, there's no way to run a railroad.
There's one more thing about this game that really, I feel like, is a microcosm of the entire season, and some of the inadequacies of it. And I want to get to that next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by BetterHelp, and we all need the opportunities to get things off our chest, big or small, feelings that are starting to build up. It's important to have an outlet, somebody unbiased in your life that you can speak with. And as an example, we do this show, Locked On Lakers, that we hope for our listeners, for our viewers, it's an escape from real life. You love the Lakers. I love the Lakers. There can be a stress release from watching a Laker game, but I don't care how big of a diehard purple and gold bleeder you are. Everybody has more pressing issues in their real life than the Lakers. And for those issues, it can be huge to talk with a professional. Therapy can be really, really important. I can speak to how therapy helped me and my family during a difficult period in our lives. If you're thinking about starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
So, okay, I've said a lot of times when we're talking about Darvin, for example, that I believe that the Lakers have had a challenging hand dealt to them. I actually got into a not a back and forth, but I left a comment. People were talking, a couple guys, people we follow on Twitter, Lakers Twitter, were talking about how going through the players that had been benched over the course of the season, Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hachimura, and just basically the implication of how stupid it was that these were things that happened. And I did chime in. I was like, to be fair, in the moment with the Reeves thing, for example, he was playing horribly. The Lakers were off to a terrible start, and there was the discourse, to me, if I remember correctly, Andy, was centered on, you have to do something to break up the D'Lo Reeves backcourt. It's not working. It can't work. A change needs to be made. Something needs to be done.
I brought up 3 or so days before Darvin eventually made that decision. I broached the question on one of our shows whether it was time to break up that backcourt, because especially with no Jared Vanderbilt and Taurean Prince, try as he might, not being the defender in terms of effectiveness or versatility that Vando is, whether or not that backcourt was too defensively vulnerable, combined with Austin Reeves being in a brutal offensive slump.
Right.
I raised that question.
You did. And a lot of people did. And there was a lot of stuff going on about like they need to do something here because they're getting off to a terrible start. And they're going to find themselves in a situation that looks remarkably like the one they're in now if something doesn't change quickly. And so they made the move and they put Reeves on the bench. And it should be noted, I think in total, it kind of helped. When he went to the bench, he started to play a little better. He got put back in the starting lineup and all that stuff. So like individual decisions, I was, the Rui thing we've covered, and the in and out of the doghouse and the lack of it, like that is a separate question to me. The inconsistency with Hachimura, whether as a starter or a reserve, and many people, I know you included, and the logic made sense to me, thought he should come off the bench at the beginning of the year. I just thought he should play more than he did.
Right. I had no issue with him coming off the bench.
Correct. And so it's like you look at a lot of these things, and then Vanderbilt has been in and out of the lineup, and the roster has been short of viable centers for different portions of the year, and all these other things. Gabe Vincent's been unavailable. It has been a difficult hand that the Lakers have been dealt, that Darvin has been dealt. This game on Tuesday to me was a kind of a microcosm of that. No LeBron, no AD, LeBron limited, clearly limited. And, like this was not one of these games where I forget which was it with the other Golden State game with the Phoenix. I forget which one. What did he play? Like 48 minutes, or like go back to Denver, last year or something like that. That wasn't an option in this game. When Darvin sat LeBron, the 5-point game, Darvin sat LeBron at the end of the third quarter, I understood exactly why that needed to happen.
So did I.
Because the idea is you hope that you can squeeze, you can get 12 minutes of LeBron in the fourth quarter. And you figure we're down by 5 now. If we can go 2.5 minutes, let LeBron get a break, maybe even bring him back right before whatever. Even if we're down by 8, we give ourselves a chance, and LeBron can play the entire fourth quarter. Here's
which
the part,
he did until garbage time, just so people know.
Here's the part that bothers me, though. He had a lineup that included Gabe Vincent, and I believe didn't include D'Lo and Reeves. LeBron was off the floor. Dinwiddie was on the floor, and Vincent was there. Russell might have been there for part of it, but like the point I'm getting at is this: in the interview on TNT after the quarter, Darvin said, was asked, what happened, because the Warriors, I think, was a 15-5 run when LeBron went off the floor, and that was essentially what pushed the game out of reach. What happened? Well, we can't have this many empty offensive possessions. Okay.
It was the last 3.5 minutes. I'm looking at it right now that LeBron sat.
And I get exactly, and I think that probably needed to happen.
I don't disagree. I
saw a lot of people complaining that how do you pull LeBron off the floor, all these other things. Okay. If your complaint after the going into the fourth quarter is, well, what happened here? Well, we can't have all of these empty offensive possessions. Why is Gabe Vincent on the floor? I understand it is hard to play guys 38 minutes, play Russell. Russell was not playing particularly well.
That's part of the problem too.
playing Russell, playing Reeves, all these guys, Golden State is not exactly an easy team to have 2 guards playing 42 minutes because they run everybody all over the floor. I understand these things. But that said, if you feel like you need buckets, if you feel like you can't afford empty offensive possessions, you cannot play Gabe Vincent. You just can't, because Gabe Vincent hasn't made a basket in 6 months. Like how many? I'm not trying to be flip. How many points has Gabe Vincent scored since returning from injury?
I'm guessing under.
I'm checking 10. Right now.
I'm gonna guess 6.
That is too high.
4?
Still too high.
3.
Andy, that would imply that he made a 3-pointer.
No, he could have had, free throw in a bucket.
That would imply that he got to the bucket.
No, not an and one, just a basket, and at some point he took a free throw.
Technical foul somewhere.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it just, I don't know.
In 4 games, averaging just over 14 minutes in the 4 games that he's played since March 31st, coming back into the lineup, Gabe Vincent has 1 basket. And look, I get it too. Like, you're trying to play some defense. But that didn't happen. There was no defense Gabe Vincent didn't stop them from scoring.
No.
And it just, Torian was playing so again, bad hand that you are dealt. But if your own internal logic says we can't afford empty possessions, we need to make sure that we can score with these guys while LeBron is off the floor, you can't play Gabe Vincent. You just have to roll with D'Lo, roll with Reeves, play them extra minutes, and hope to God they can make it through the fourth quarter. It's just that to me is an example of Darvin playing a poor hand poorly. That I think has been my major criticism. Even while I am sympathetic to his plight, I think the comparison I've made all year, he is taking advanced college courses because this is hard and getting really bad grades.
I mean, we've talked about this before. I don't think that I think maybe if he's been taking advanced college courses, it has been courses that people don't necessarily realize that he's taking. And we'll talk about this more.
Is he auditing them?
No, I mean, in terms of, I think there have been elements of this that have been harder than people have recognized. That, like, for example, managing LeBron over the course of a season, even though he's been available, I think is much harder than a lot of people. You hear a lot of just coverage that's, you've had LeBron all year, you've had Anthony Davis. How can this happen? I think it's more complicated than that. But when you start talking about, for example, managing your hands, if you think the whole year has been hard, this is where this situation with Gabe Vincent, before he came back, I had expressed skepticism about the ability to acclimate him this late in the season, particularly once it became clear he can't even play back-to-backs, which I understand, but folks, we're in like the last 6 games of the year. This is where I feel like the apprehension that I've never quite understood with Max Christie becomes a problem.
Exactly.
Because this whole year, whether you've been waiting for Gabe Vincent or futzing around with Cam Reddish, even when, I mean, forget what you think of Reddish. Reddish had a difficult time staying on the floor to even build a rhythm.
And, he tried, just so people may not, he played Reddish in the first half. It didn't go well. He did not play him in the second.
Right. But I'm saying all these different things that have felt like, and you want to talk about microcosms of the season, all these different moves that Darvin has made, as opposed to just giving Max Christie what has felt like a real shot, feels indicative of the way Darvin has at times seemed very determined to do things the most difficult, least obvious way.
Yeah.
And I think the Vincent Christie thing is a good example of that, because now Christie's not in any type of rhythm to start playing.
No, and I think, maybe that's part of the decision-making becomes self-fulfilling, where you say, I'm not.
They're lucky he's restricted and can't bolt.
I'm not
like him.
Well, I'm not.
Like that scene in a Bronx Tale. Now you can't leave.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm agnostic on the Christie thing. I'm not. I do think, I'm not actually, especially when you start throwing in the Reddish stuff, even when there are times when I can at least understand I can tell you why Reddish is playing. Even if I can't tell you why Reddish is playing, Christie, maybe you look at it and you say, well, you can't play Christie with just Dinwiddie on the floor because now you're short ball handlers and LeBron's taking a rest. You only have one ball handler and all these other things. Well, you could, if I mentioned, keep a second one on the floor. And then also too, it's like who is he orchestrating to? Like there's just
there's no perfect way to do this.
Vincent's not playing well enough to say, the same way that I get conceptually why you would say Cam Reddish makes sense here. He's had moments playing well defensively. He's a much larger body and all that, but you're not actually getting the results from him being on the floor. And he is such a terrible offensive player that why? What is the purpose of this? And I feel like that, again, I agree with, I'm glad you went there, was, so if this is where you can, because Max Christie at least has played. Jackson Hayes goes off the floor. Let's stay big and let's give Colin Castleton a shot. In this game, no, that's not what I'm doing. But Christie's played this year. He knows what he's doing. He knows where he's supposed to go, and guys know what to do when he is on the floor. So in this game, in this case, those 14 minutes, or at least 8 or 7 or 8 of them, are the ones that came at the end of the third quarter. You would have been better suited for Christie. I don't know if it made a difference. Probably not the difference between Max Christie.
Prepping him all season,
but it's the principle of it.
Right.
All right. Well, we got a lot to cover, Andy, between now and Friday's game against Memphis. There's the availability of Anthony Davis and whether or not he's even going to make the trip. We'll see what happens in between with the other teams and wins and losses that we can follow. But in the meantime, leave us questions, leave us comments, and we will go through them and potentially use them on shows for the rest of the week. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 23,000 subscribers. And we will see everyone tomorrow.